City, taking a walk this evening, what I typically do most days, and thinking about some of the blessings that I've received over the years. And I do want to thank everybody who's subscribed to my page. This is a new endeavor for me, just like doing Black baseball history was some 40, 45, 50 years ago when I first started. Believe me, it wasn't one of these things where it looked like people were just going to love this topic. As a matter of fact, they did not love this topic. Some people even resented the topic at that time. Remember, this is coming out of Hank Aaron breaking a Babe Ruth record, receiving death threats. That was in 1974. That was the year I graduated. And I pretty much clocked all of that information in my mind. And so I just determined to do something to change all of that. And so I started with pretty humble beginnings. Dink Mothel out of Topeka, Kansas, one of the Negro Leaguers, really put me on the map, and I began to work from there. So I hear all these years later, I'm thinking about all the people I interviewed, and guys, the ones I'm talking about, the stories I'm telling you, well, you haven't heard but a fraction of some of the things I'm going to talk about. So I'm just out here walking around feeling blessed. There's so much to reflect on that I've seen over the years. One thing I have not talked much about is the publications that I've written and my contributions in that area. My first book actually should have been my second book. My first book I had started writing was the Negro Baseball Leagues of Photographic History, and the publisher was supposed to release it about 1987, 88. So you can imagine now, here we are, the mid 80s, and this guy sat on the publication for 4 years, didn't believe he could sell it. He was undercapitalized, bit off more than what he could chew. And guys, the support wasn't there. Believe me, a lot of the people who are listening right now, who are following the history of African American baseball, either they weren't born then, or if they were born, they would tell you that, hey, they were more concerned with Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. I can go on and on and on and on, because I was a baseball card collector and I used to go to the shows all the time. So I would see all these guys at the shows, and these were the guys they were interested in, not these Negro Leaguers. And I can remember taking a signed Kansas City Monarch baseball to a baseball card show and showing them this is probably about 1980, I would say about 82, 83, somewhere in there. And showing this ball that's signed by the entire Kansas City Monarch team, and they thought it was worth nothing. They had no idea. But as long as, you come in there and you get a Mickey Mantle signed something, or something signed by Joe DiMaggio, I can go on and on and on to saw people. I saw Lefty Groves was another one that shows quite a bit, but never Negro Leaguers. And I always used to tell people this: the first time Buck O'Neill ever came to a card show, I had him come with Connie Johnson. You probably remember Connie Johnson, pitched for the White Sox and the Orioles, good friend of mine. These are all great supporters of mine around Kansas City. And I paid the money out of my pocket for them to come to the show, and they signed autographs. Now guys, this is before the 90s. This is in the 80s. I had Chet Brewer. Chet Brewer came. Now Chet Brewer didn't charge me anything. He just came. Chet Brewer was an incredible guy, and he just came to the show because I had a baseball card set that I had released in 1987. So I went out to Los Angeles, and Chet Brewer was supporting me on that, helping me do whatever I need to do to get not only him recognition, but the other guys too. And these players, they really realized that I was going to be the genuine kind of person. I wasn't in it for the money. I've never been in it for the fame. And I've had a little bit of both. I had more fame maybe than money, but I never had enough of either one to boast about. But that's not why I was in it. And There are people now, I go around to places in Kansas City. I was down doing something for somebody, and people say, I never heard of you. I've been in this town for 45 years, presented more in this town than anyone in Kansas City. No awards, no recognition. Guys, just a lot of hard work. And that's what it's going to take to elevate these guys to where they really need to be. And this is a serious business for me, and it should be for you as well if you're really interested in this. Yeah, I'm out here, got lots of fresh air, but it looks like it's going to rain here in Kansas City. Of course, this time of year, it's getting dark early. So I'm just trying to do a little talking while I'm walking. Yeah, so guys, and so everybody who's joined my broadcast and has subscribed, guys, you don't realize how much I appreciate you. And I tell you the reason why. There are a lot of people out here who listen to the broadcast. I can tell because of the numbers. They never subscribe. And some of these are baseball fans, but they won't subscribe. Now, you can't tell me why, but I can tell you this. Some of these people, like the ones who read my books over the years, and they'll lift information from my book and not even be respectful enough to give you a mention in the references of where they got the material. I can show you all kinds of examples of that. I can even show you examples where people have lifted photographs from my book, turn around, put their name on there, and selling an inferior photograph to the public, and the public buys it. So this has been going on for years, but guys, it's going to keep on happening. I can't stop it. And the truth of the matter is, guys, I keep seeing this whole hobby grow. I see people getting recognition, but there's still so many people we need to talk about, and so many images and families we need to find so we can tell this history. So as I'm out here walking, I'm just kind of reflecting on the blessings that God really gave me. If you think about it, I was talking yesterday about Sweetwater Clifton. And guys, when I think about it, this guy was a barrier breaker in the NBA. And I got a chance to talk to him. And, you know, he's driving a cab. And you kind of say, man, you know, it's unfortunate this guy didn't benefit as well. But, you know, he made a few bucks in basketball. But the truth of the matter is, did he really need to be driving a cab? Why not some corporation hire him? How about an NBA team find something for him to do? I know recently I was in Cleveland, and Parnell Woods, who used to play for the Cleveland Buckeyes, his daughter came, and she talked about when his baseball career was over, he drove the bus for Abe Saperstein. So he was a bus driver, but at least he had a job doing something close to the life he understood, right? And so a lot of these guys, they didn't get any credit. They didn't get any fortunes. I can remember years ago, a ball player in Memphis went to visit him, and he lived on top of a liquor store. It was a liquor store down there in Memphis. And I remember that well. But I interviewed people all over the place and went to a lot of people's homes. Some people really had fabulous homes. I tell you who had a fabulous home in Springfield, Illinois, was Josh Johnson, the catcher, used to be with the Homestead Grays, Cincinnati Tigers. Fabulous home. He was an academic. Man, I tell you what, that was a beautiful home. Hilton Smith had a beautiful home. Yep, I remember going to Hilton Smith's house. And I can think of a few other people that just did very well after their life from the Negro Leagues. And of course, there were a lot of academics and things like that. So it's just a blessing. And I'm trying to share this with you guys now, because the more information I can leave out here, the more you begin to understand who these people were. And so it's nice that you can put the guy what he batted or what you think he batted a certain year, but it's even better if you have some personal things that you can relate to. And that's what I try to do. And I'm trying my best. But one thing about it, guys, I've been at it for about 3 months. dropping information like you wouldn't believe. And then I'm about 300 subscribers, right? But guys, there are people out there dropping less information, know hardly anything about the subject except what they read from what somebody else writes, maybe even my book. And guess what? They've got thousands of subscribers. So am I doing something wrong? Hey guys, if you think there's a better way for me to do it, let me know. All right, because hey, I'm all about improving and trying to make the subject live far beyond my day. And so, but the information I'm giving you guys are about people that you would never have a chance to meet. I mentioned Elwood Parsons last night. I hadn't talked about Elwood Parsons in years, but when I was preparing, I'm just having a moment reflecting, and I thought about a trip I took to Dayton, Ohio, and I was able to meet Mr. Parsons. That was quite the meeting. Elwood Parsons. And guess what? He doesn't get any recognition. Now, he wasn't a ball player, even though he was a cousin to Jelly Taylor, which he told me, but he didn't get any recognition. Another one, I probably would talk about him sometime, is Sam Brown. Sam Brown was the traveling secretary of the Memphis Red Sox. I had a chance to interview him on many occasions. And the interesting thing about Sam, you probably heard the story about Buck O'Neill, talk about how he hit for the cycle and met his wife, Aura, at the same night. Well, guess who introduced him? He says the Dizzy Dismukes, but Aura and Sam said it was Sam. So I got a different story from Buck's wife and then also from Sam Brown. So who is Sam Brown? He didn't hit the baseball, so people don't hardly talk about him. Another guy that was really helpful, was about 20 younger than he was, and she was in her 80s when I met her, and that was Quincy Gilmore's wife. Alberta, I think, let's see, what's her name? I think about her name now, but I want to say Alberta Gilmore. I could be right on that. I have her obituary at home. And she was really helpful. When I met her, she was blind. But she was able to tell me information about the Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana League, because that was Quincy Gilmore's league. He was the president of that league. She did get things like described the office, gave me the address where it was. And then she was also good friends with Bill Bojangles Robinson's wife. And she actually gave me a picture of Bill Robinson's wife that had signed. And so I have that in my collection, along with many other things. But she was a fascinating lady. Another lady that helped me, her husband had passed on and she had gotten remarried, was New Joseph's widow. Yeah, she was really helpful too. I talk about her all the time because she was a big soap opera watcher. So sometimes I would call in the middle of the day and want to come over and interview her instead of the nighttime. And you better not call her while her soaps are on. And so she wouldn't talk to you when the soaps are on. And but these are things that you learn. And then at one time, I remember she said, "Hey, come over, I got something for you." So I go over to her, up to the second floor, and I don't know if you know how some of these houses were built in Kansas City. They had 3 floors: the basement, the middle floor, and then the upper floor. And so she didn't go up the upper floor that often because she was older. But she said, "Hey, come on up here, take me up here, and I got something to give you." And she gave me the second team. That was the 1938-39 Monarchs second team. She gave me their entire scrapbook, and I have that at home. Never used it yet, but I plan on using it for something. And guys, there's so many things I want to write, and I've written a lot, but there are so many things I get from some of my talks. Is just a lot of good information that is not public information. Or boast, broadcast. I'm just telling you like it is. God blessed me to see some wonderful people, meet some wonderful people, and he showed me how to use my last dime to make something happen, which I never knew using my last dime to go to some of these places would pay off in the way it has over the years. But not like I was working with some great budget. I had no organization behind me. I was just out there trying my best. And because I love baseball, that also helped. So guys, if you're a fan of the Negro Leagues and you want to learn more, guys, please subscribe. And I'm not really begging you, I'm encouraging you to subscribe. Because guys, when a conversation comes up and you want to talk intelligently, you will have information that other people don't have. And so you can win bets off of this information. The other thing is it lets you know who the people are really doing the work are. And guys, to write books, one of the things about writing books, when you write a book, guys, you almost have to lock yourself down in a room, and to write, you got to stay focused. That's a task in itself. And so I've been successful to write many books and some award winners too. So actually, some places I've written books and it will be baseball shops, guys, and they don't even carry your books. But they specialize in the Negro Leagues. How about, can you figure that one out? So, but what I've learned a lot of times, guys, is the more success you have, sometimes you really, believe it or not, you pick up enemies along the way. They've been called out of names. But one thing about it, guys, when God puts you on a task, they can hate all they want, and God will still make it happen. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And so what comes next? I don't know, but I do know this. If you enjoy baseball, this is the place you ought to be. And later on, guys, we're going to get into some real deep type of conversations. One of them is, okay, you know, the Savannah Bananas, they're starting a new team called the Indianapolis Clowns. That's not a new team, that's an old name. You know, I want to know how you feel about the team. And the team uses all the original information. It uses the players' references, Bullet Rogan, Jackie Robinson. But guys, they just started the team 3 years ago, and they're not an African-American team. So when they're using those references, are they really messing up history? Or, and in the future, here's what I want you to think about. When people think about the Negro Leagues and they go searching online and say maybe they pull up the Kansas City Monarchs, are they going to find that team as the Kansas City Monarchs? Or are they going to find the Kansas City Monarchs from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s when they look up? And guys, because the internet goes by what's been put on there, and there's a lot of information that's never been put on the internet, I'm afraid that when they search the Kansas City Monarch, they're going to find that team thinking that they're a connection. And guys, the information that people are getting is so limited that some people will think that that's the extension of the Kansas City Monarchs because they're in Kansas City and they're still the Monarchs, but they're not the Monarchs. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel like the Negro League should have sold the name? What, I mean, did somebody purchase the name for the Indianapolis Clowns? How about this? I'm sure they're going to stock it with black players. How do you feel about black players being portrayed as clowns now in these days and times? How does that change the history? And so those are kind of deep questions that I think that people would like to engage in, but we've got to get some intelligent conversation going. And so once I get enough subscribers, we're going to bring on some of those kind of dialogue and see what we can find. So guys, in the meanwhile, some of these baseball fans out here, they're going to keep on giving you really thin black and Negro League baseball history. But just know, guys, now you've got a place where you can go and ask questions and maybe get some responses, answers, interact with a group of people who are really serious about this history. And it's not about making money. Guys, if it was about making money, man, I probably should have been rich a long time ago. But I never was in it for the money. And a lot of these ball players, as long as they had enough money to live, they were coming back and they were going to play over and over again. So that kind of gives you a little bit of idea. I'm walking under some trees, so it's kind of getting dark. But it's getting dark out here in the Midwest, guys, a little bit earlier. So Let me get to out from under these trees, and it'll lighten up a little bit. But I do want to thank everyone. This is from the bottom of my heart, guys. I want to thank you all for subscribing and being a part of this history-changing experience. And we're going to change some hearts and some minds, and we're going to educate some people on not on just the guys in the Hall of Fame, but guys who should be in the Hall of Fame and guys who will never get to the Hall of Fame, but you need to know their names. So thank you, guys. I always try to keep my broadcast right around 20 minutes. So I'm about finished with my walk. Try to get about 10,000 steps in, guys. I need to be healthy so I can keep giving you this history for as long as I can. I'm in 45 years, but believe me, I'd like to be doing it for another, well, probably not 45, but I'll take